Good morning. It is Sunday, March the 21st, and it is the second official day of spring 2021. The weather is not very spring-like today, though. It's still very wet and damp and humid, and it's only expected to get worse as the day goes on as far as rain goes. So, because of those conditions, it's the perfect day for a rainforest hike here on the Olympic Peninsula. We are about to walk into the Brothers Wilderness, which is a part of Olympic National Forest, which borders Olympic National Park on the Hood Canal side of the peninsula. There are a lot of major river drainages on the Hood Canal, and we actually flipped a coin today to see which one we would do. It was going to be between the Quinault on the west side of the peninsula or the Duckabush here on the east side, and we flipped tails, and here we are at the trailhead to the Duckabush Valley. So we have no real set plan today, just kind of a meander through another rainforest. We're hoping to make it to a place called 5 Mile Camp, which would make it, if it's 5 miles to 5 Mile Camp, around 10 miles round trip for a day hike. We'll see what happens today, and here we go. So you can see from the stumps that this forest is secondary, and the original old growth was logged generations ago, and the trail that we are walking on is an abandoned logging road. So this moss-covered lump of erratic is a remnant of pillow basalt that erupted on the ocean floor, and now it's up here in the Olympic Peninsula. It is the remnants of a massive accretiated terrain called Silesia that was a Hawaiian type of island off of the Pacific Northwest coast millions of years ago. And through plate tectonics and collision, it was added and scraped off onto the North American continent. And it's a part of the peninsula that is called the Crescent Formation. And it's shaped like a crescent moon from south to west to north. And it's all this pillow basalt here that you see. It's a very common exposure of bedrock in the eastern and northern Olympics. So we have just ascended our first moderate up of the trip. It is called Little Hump, and we are cresting the top of it. We're going to head down and be right next to the Duckabush River here very shortly. And just like that, we have reached the first boundary of the hike. We're about to step into the Brothers Wilderness. So there's a lot of uniqueness to these valleys in the Olympic Peninsula. One thing that I find peculiarly unique are the amount of moss-covered deciduous trees. You get in these clearings, and you get these groves
with alder and ash, just draping with moss. And there's not so much undergrowth, there's a lot of ferns and a lot of mosses covering the rocks on the forest floor, but you also get these great canopies of deciduous trees mixed in with the conifers. In a couple weeks, they're all going to be draping with big leaves. So you wouldn't recognize it, but here's another fern and moss covered exposure of the pillow basalts. You can really see them right there. Lava, basaltic lava that erupted on the ocean floor, cooled extremely quickly, and another bulge came out behind it. You can go see it happening today on the big island of Hawaii. So after you descend Little Hump, you walk a long flat section through the rainforest, and then it comes out right over here, and then you enter, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful couple hundred meters of trail on the Olympic Peninsula. Right up against and above a very clear and gushing Duckabush River. And then we're gonna go up Big Hump here soon. We're gonna climb even higher than we did going up over Little Hump. Another thing that's cool about the Olympics is there's ample camping spots. That's a camping spot right there, right along the river. And right after you leave the Duckabush River, you begin a 1,100 foot ascent up and over the biggest obstacle of this day hike, which will be called Big Hump. So as you switch back up through the forest and you near the top of Big Hump, some views do start to open up, and the shrouded hills of mists definitely beckon the imagination of what's out there. And over here we're starting to get some of the peaks of the Brothers Wilderness starting to poke out of the clouds. And there's a lot of snow up there. And we still have more climbing to do up that way. So as you near the crest of Big Hump, you come to these amazing vistas overlooking the Duckabush River Valley. And you can kind of see where we came from. Right down there, that ridge line, that's the Little Hump. And the trailhead is about a mile past that. And then you got a good view of the Duckabush Valley. All the foothills are collecting lots of clouds. And it is supposed to rain this afternoon. And I'm saying, by the looks of these weather patterns I'm seeing, it might come true. We are approaching the top of the hump. And this is an edition from Survival of the Fittest, Northwest Tree Edition. It is all burnt up from a historic fire up here, but life continues. Look at all the little saplings coming up out of the burn. So just over the other side of the hump, we are going to lose all the ground we gained, or close to it. And the forest is recovering from a forest fire up here, but it offers great views of glacially buffered and smoothed pillow basalts. It's actually quite fun to go scrambling up in there on a drier day. And we'll be coming back up this way when we're done. And the sun is poking through the clouds. Have reached the valley floor on the other side of Big Hump, and we are greeted yet again with fantastic views of the Duckabush River, only this time it's before it goes into its own little canyon. And we are nearing our destination. Just got to continue a little bit further down the trail. Well, here we are at what we believe to be 5 Mile Camp, which means we are not far from the boundary of Olympic National Park. And this is where we are going to stop for the day, be our turnaround spot, and eat lunch and look around the area for a bit. The river's really gorgeous in this stretch. What do you got there, Sarah?
Mac and cheese. Annie's mac and cheese. Or at least I will in a few minutes.
How do you like your new stove?
So far, so good. pretty low setting and it's boiling pretty good right now, so.
Nothing like hot food in the stomach after a day of walking. It's only the halfway point right now. This will give us the energy we definitely need to get home.
Well, it'll give us the energy we need to get to the car.
Yeah.
And then the junk food will give us the energy we need to get to the snow.
Yeah, no trip is complete without a stop at the gas station and picking up some candy bars. So healthy. Yeah, we're all out here about healthy living and everything, and as soon as we get out of the woods, it's give me sugar and salt. Sarah's definitely a salty person. I'm definitely a sweet tooth. That's for sure. Yeah, you get cold as soon as you stop. You sweat going up and over hills and it gets humid and wet. As soon as you stop and stop moving, body temperature definitely drops. And it's another reason for the food. You gotta keep your core warm. Not so much maybe on these day trips, you know, but if you spend multi-night trips in the backcountry, energy definitely comes from the food you eat. That's for sure.
Hot food is a necessity.
Hot food is a necessity. All the rivers on the Hood Canal side of the Olympic Peninsula, the Duckabush, I think, is probably one of my favorites. You just don't get anything better than this, really. I love the moss-covered rocks, the rapids, the crystal clear water, and the canyon that it's situated in. Old-growth forest around it is definitely primeval. It's just loaded with humongous, big western red cedars. Some big Douglas firs down here, and of course, the pillow basalts. The Hood Canal side of the Olympics is definitely, I would say, a steeper incline from sea level up to the highest peaks versus going in from the west with the big rainforest valleys on the west side. It's more gradual over there. Because of that, I think the rivers on the west side they have bigger sweeps, bigger plains to drain down, versus here on the Hood Canal side, they go from really high all the way down to sea level rather quickly, which gives it a great relief. This is actually a pretty cool camp. I would want to come back here and stay at this one if we were doing this trip again. I have done a couple backpacking trips going up this valley. It is worth it. It just gets better and better. Olympic National Park, the boundary has got to be within a mile of here. Sarah clocked it at about 6 miles to this spot. It was 4.4 from the trailhead to the top of Big Hump. We've lucked out on the weather so far. It hasn't rained where it was forecasted to rain fairly hard today. but it also isn't far into the afternoon hours yet. We're getting some sun breaks. Like right now, it's starting to poke out a little bit, which is always a good thing. It's still really cold down here in this narrow valley, and I'm anxious to get walking again. I thought this would be a spot where there were these really cool, really deep pools of water through these chasms of rock, and I think they're just up. I'm gonna go try and see if I can find them here in a few minutes before we turn around and head back to the car.
So we are just about to the pools of water I was talking about. They are right up here. Probably about a quarter mile past that 5-mile camp. Well, here we are. We made it. I came through this spot in 2019 with my friends Sebastian and JR, and it was very memorable. I've wanted to come back to this location since then, and I thought it would be a lot higher, but it's actually perfect. Let me go down there and check out the water. So we are turning around, and this hike is half over. We're heading back to the trailhead.